we come to the subway, where things have gotten so bad.
Preach, brother, preach! This one's called Why I'm Leaving New York City. Oh boy, this is about to get personal for me. Okay, let's see.
Do you know him?
No, do you?
Famous.
Who is he? Is he the famous dog walker?
Wait, what? What dog walker?
I know there's a famous dog walker on YouTube.
Oh. He's like a white guy that knows very good Chinese.
Oh,
and
진짜?
other languages, I think.
His Chinese is probably better than mine.
It's really good, actually.
Oh, yeah? Oh, his name is 小马在纽约. Oh, makes sense. So his name is 小马在纽约 means he's in New York.
So yes, after having lived 20 of my 33 years in Manhattan, New York City, it is true, I have finally decided to leave. In fact, I've already moved. New York City is where I grew up. It is still one of the greatest cities in the world. To be clear, this is not a video about how expensive it is to live in New York City. Yes, it will cost you $3,900 per month to get a small studio in Manhattan, New York City, whereas if you spend that same $3,900 and you go to Manhattan, Kansas, you can get a lovely, massive 8-bedroom home. That all is true.
8-bedroom
home?
home?
What you would expect.
Yo,
when
let's
you
go to
live in a
Kansas,
city
fam!
as crowded and densely populated and full of job opportunities and 8 million people all also looking for apartments. But my complaints are actually a little bit different. Last year, I paid over 50% of all of the money that I made to the government. And what I got in return for spending that money in terms of public safety, infrastructure, etc., is very questionable. So how is it possible that living in the United States of America, you can pay over 50% in taxes? New York City taxes your income both at a personal level with a 4% income tax, but also New York City has a separate up to 9% corporate tax.
It hurts,
and then
bro.
plus you have to pay New York State taxes, and then you also have to pay federal taxes.
Best city
And
in the
it really gets
world.
complicated because it does depend
Right
on
here.
your accounting, and to be fair, I did make some accounting mistakes. But look, I'm actually not anti-tax. I just moved to New Jersey, which, in case you're unaware, is one of the highest tax states in the entire country.
I knew he was in Jersey because he pointed to New York, and I'm like, bro, I know where this is going. Barf!
So I'm not anti-tax, right? And I think that businesses, even small businesses like mine, should have to pay their fair share in tax. My particular gripe is rather with how New York City decides to spend my money. And as a 50% plus taxpayer in New York City,
Hey, look at that brother in the back riding the scooter. Hey, what's up?
I think that I have some standing to complain about this. First of all, let's talk about public safety. New York City has become, frankly, a terrifying environment within which to raise a family. Just
Absolutely terrifying. Do you guys know the amount of women that are getting punched in the streets of New York just randomly? I personally know somebody who was just randomly attacked. Literally, broad daylight. She was not even alone. She was with another friend, 2 girls. And somebody literally just punched her. And it's really scary because it's one thing to just see random people on TikTok post about that, but when it's someone you actually know, holy shit, it's so scary, guys. And she's the sweetest girl ever too. So I know it was unprovoked. The guy just hit her and then ran. It's horrible, horrible, horrible.
a few weeks ago, I was pushing my 2-year-old son in a stroller down the block of our downtown New York City neighborhood. And there was a half-naked man on the block ahead of us, screaming at the top of his lungs, violently punching the air, in broad daylight. I had to push my son across the street just in order to avoid this person. And I actually had to do this about once a month. One time, just walking down the street, my friend was sucker punched in broad daylight. That never happened to me personally, but I was almost assaulted one time in the park. Some, again, half-naked crazy person comes up to me and gets really aggressive in my face and says, "Ah, what are you doing?" Starts screaming at me. There are even organizations in New York City now that will offer to walk you home from the subway stop if you don't feel safe. I actually don't want to exaggerate how bad living in New York City is, because
he's not
listen,
exaggerating.
most of the time, frankly,
why do you guys think I'm always
quite
home?
a pleasant and normal place to live in. You know, even if it's only 10% of the time or 1% of the time crazy and dramatic things like this happen, if you're a young single guy, you might not particularly mind. But if you have young children or you're a woman, you know, it's simply not acceptable. Like, stuff like that can't happen anytime. My wife was not willing to go out on the street with my son by herself. She simply wasn't. Frankly, that just makes me feel ashamed of the city where I grew up. Now, speaking of places unacceptable for women or young children, we come to the subway, where things have gotten so bad
Preach,
that
brother,
Governor Kathy
preach!
Hochul has recently deployed the National Guard, yes, armed military personnel, to help ensure the safety of the subway. It's almost a meme in New York.
Guys, like, compared to Asian subway station, like I've been in China subway station, I've been in Hong Kong's, I've been in Japan's now, and like it's day and night. Literally, like the subway decorum and like the level of safety and just like the level of like chaoticness. Like China, we're overpopulated, okay? But somehow it's more orderly there than our subway system here. Like, don't get me started.
How many crazy people you encounter on the subway. In absolute numbers, the risks of being violently assaulted on the New York City subway are probably pretty low, although it does happen with some terrifying incidents like, you know, people getting randomly slashed by, again, crazy.
Oh my god, the slashing. Oh my god. Okay, so like when I was in college, there was this one period of time where like there was this guy on the subway, right? And he would just slash random women across the face, okay? And my mom would send me these horribly scary like news articles, and then she'd be like, hey, don't go on the train, okay? Slash slash. And I'm like, what the mom? Like, why the are you, like, I have an internship, I have to take the train to my internship, mom. Like, why are you sending me these videos? And she's like, cover your face, slash slash. I'm like, holy shit. Like, oh, I lived by myself for a year and I just did not feel safe, and like, you know, moved in with like it's not good. It's not good.
People who should not be on the subway. It's really more about the feeling that you get when you come into the subway and there's somebody who is clearly unwell on that same subway car, again, possibly screaming his head off. Besides which, the subway is also extremely dirty and smells like excrement much of the time.
I've had a friend, like a person, like a homeless person, like spat at her, like on the subway train, like he spit on her.
The subway is actually such an embarrassment that people in other countries frequently make fun of how bad the subway system of our nation's biggest city is. And I know this because I actually made a video one time in Chinese talking about my awful experience on the subway that day when I had to get to work and all my trains were abruptly canceled.
Tulips, thank you so much for the resub, girl. Thank you. Tulips. I love New York, Lunar, but like he makes some really good points. Like, I've been in New York for over 10 years at this point, right? And I feel like it's getting worse.
Hey, how's it going, man?
How are you?
Good, thanks. So they're doing this really cool thing today where there's no subway again.
Oh, no subway?
Yeah.
Did you guys know in Japan, if the subway is late, they give you a slip to give to work? It's like, hey, I'm so sorry the train is late. Here's my late pass from the train, okay? Me, every time the fucking train decides not to work, okay, I'm going into work late. I'm like, I'm so sorry, it's the train. And like, I feel like everyone understands most of the time because, you know, it's the train and the train is always unreliable. But then like, I still feel like, holy shit, do they think I'm lying because I'm always late? No, the train is just never working.
I see what you can do. Buy yourself a train?
Buy yourself a train, exactly. That's the only thing you can do. And it went viral on the Chinese internet. And Chinese people couldn't believe the state of our subway system. And what especially surprised them was the cost of our subway system. At the time, I mentioned in the video the $4.5 billion the New York government spent to build something like 3 stations. This was back in 2016. And Chinese people were completely shocked by that number.
Yep.
And since then, it's gotten even worse. The New York government recently completed construction on an $11 billion project to build one station. This being the East Side Access Project that may have actually decreased subway ridership. And I asked ChatGPT how much of the Shanghai Metro could get constructed with $11 billion. And ChatGPT said 50 to 150 kilometers for that same $11 billion that it costs New York to build just one station. Oh, well, China's an authoritarian government. They can just do whatever they want, right? Well, the thing is, New York City's subway system is many multiples more expensive than any other city in the entire world, including every single Western democratic city. Paris right now is somehow building 120 miles of tracks with 68 new stations for just $25 billion. And on a per kilometer basis, New York probably costs 10 times that. Even Los Angeles manages to build its metro lines for almost 6 times cheaper than New York does. So I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm looking at how New York City is spending my tax dollars, and I'm just thinking, where is all of this money going? You have these employees pulling $500,000 salaries when the New York City trains
Doing what?
do not even run on time.
I don't make that. What?
$500,000 salary.
Accused of overtime fraud. I don't even make overtime. That's why. What the f are they overtime? They're still the station. It literally takes like 5 years to get one thing done. You telling me they make $500,000 a year? Are you kidding me? Are you shitting me?
When the New York City trains do not even run on time, and the entire system, frankly, smells like shit. So it's hard to escape the conclusion that the money is being wasted. New York is simply abusing taxpayer money. Where is it going? I mean, you have cities like Singapore that manage to have safe streets and a beautiful subway system while only taxing its inhabitants at 20%. And again, to reiterate, I'm not particularly anti-tax here either. It's really about how the money is spent. There are other places in the world that tax their inhabitants at greater than 50% tax rates, like Sweden, but Sweden actually manages to use that money efficiently and is able to offer its citizens free healthcare, free university, guaranteed pre-K, all of which you have to pay out of pocket for in New York City.
Guaranteed pre-K? Oh my god, so I'm in the age range where my friends are starting to have children, so they're looking at like daycare and pre-K and all that stuff. It's a fortune here. You have one kid, it's a fortune. You have 2 kids, it's worth it for one of you guys to stay home and watch the kid at that point. It's ridiculous. Oh wait, is it 5 people for the 92K? Oh, if it's 5 people, then I would be less upset. But wait, let me see. 5 transit employees put in claims for almost physically impossible shifts that allowed them to out-earn even New York's governor. No, I think this is maybe one. Actually, it said 5 transit employees put in claims for almost physically accused of overtime made in 1 year. Yeah, it's not really clear from that if it's one person that made 461K or if it was 5 people. I'm not sure. But either way, I don't get overtime, so I'm salty about that. But
so New York said
pre-K. Talk about pre-K.
We're going to take all of this taxpayer money and convert it into free daycare for every 3-year-old in this city. Hey, sounds like a great idea, right? Free pre-K for everybody. Well, guess what? My child is going to turn 3 this year, and it turns out that the 3K program is effectively dead. The government simply couldn't get it together, and it's extremely difficult as a normal citizen of New York City to get a spot. Again, despite spending all of this tax money, which in theory should ensure that you do have a spot in free daycare for your child. Like Sweden, which does manage to ensure free daycare for all of its children, or very low-cost daycare. This is also partially because New York City has experienced a surge of migrants recently who are taking many spots in this publicly funded daycare, and
found the article, the total amount was for one person's salary. Yeah, so imagine 5 people at $461,000 each.
Stress enough.
$500,000? Are you kidding me?
Immigrant I am. I think our country needs more immigration, not less. I think that immigration is almost precisely the thing that has made New York into one of the greatest cities in the entire world. But the problem is that New York is taking its tax dollars and lavishing it on migrants actually attracted to this tax money being given to them by the government of New York. You may be familiar with this, but New York offers free housing to anybody who shows up. This includes free and, until recently, effectively unlimited stays at $500 per night hotels. Actually, the mayor recently received a lot of criticism for spending $53 million on debit cards full of money for the same migrants. And I can't stress this enough, how much I love immigration to New York, but I just wish that the migrants were being attracted to New York City by some reason other than free $500 a night hotel stays. The homeless and mentally ill crisis in New York is such a big issue.
Crazy.
And such a better place to use that money than to spend it on unlimited free housing for migrants.
I agree with that.
It completely boggles the mind.
And
then
I'm
there's
an
just
immigrant.
General other sundry issues with how the New York government conducts its business. I mean, the endless construction projects that seem to go on and on and
Takes
on.
5 years.
I live in have been simply ruined. A park near where I used to live has been under construction for 5 years now.
I know
It's
that
already been
park.
delayed multiple times.
I literally said
Which, by
5
the
years,
way,
didn't
helped turn
I?
this park into a drug-infested murder zone. Another fun fact is that in New York City, there are now multiple illegal weed stores on every single block. This is true. Just go to the city and check it out yourself. And all this is because the New York City government could not get its act together with the licensing program. And so it's managed to grant only dozens of licenses for legal weed stores for a city of 8 million people. So yeah, I've moved to New Jersey. And honestly, I couldn't be happier about it. And by the way, I'm not alone. Unlike London, whose population has been dramatically increasing for years, NYC has actually lost 500,000 residents since 2020. The quality of life is way higher here. I get much more for my money, and things actually seem somewhat better run. And it's kind of sad because, you know, New York is and always will be my home, but it's frankly no longer a city where you can raise a family. And that's really sad.
I agree with everything he said. I love New York City. If I'm ever lucky enough to have kids, I will not be raising them here. Why would you not raise your kids in New York City? Did you not hear everything he just said, Boundary? Were you not here for anything he just said? Why would you want to raise your kids in New York City? I've met so many out of New York City kids, and they are all soft. If by soft you mean free of drugs, free of, like, teenage pregnancy, free of more drugs, like, yeah, I'm one of those soft kids. I feel like I turned out great. Jay, you grew up in New York City. Would you raise your kid in New York City? If you had the choice.
Unless I had a obscenely large amount of money.
Right, because you would send them to private school.
Well, yeah, I would live in a very different place in New York City.
Yeah. We do Tribeca or Upper West Side. You know where all the nice brunch places are. That are the places we can't afford. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
That the most people will never see.
Sure. Yeah, but like those places, you can't be a first gen, or like me, like I'm like an immigrant. My kids will be first gen. Those places you have to have like generational wealth.
Yeah.
Like you would have to marry like a trust fund baby. Okay.
Yep.
No. My kid, like, Jay was raised in the city, okay, and like he would not.